Okay, guys. It's cold, so I've got a bit of a blanket on. So welcome to week 10. I can't believe I made these many episodes. Okay. God, we come before you today. Another week of doing cool church type stuff and me just kind of telling people about you. Because I like telling people about you. But we're going to pray for the things that matter to us. We'll start off with a lot of the crime. I think they've been saying it's in Baltimore, God, or Detroit. And I pray that you help people get a handle on the situation that live there. We pray for the suicide rate in California. We thank you for the gun deaths getting so low, but if 2/3 of deaths are suicide, let's pray for that. So for the suicide rate in California, Father, and we pray that they start being able to handle the homeless problem really well, and you give us good, decisive ways to put into place good policies while handling it, while not forgetting that they're still homeless, they need our help. We pray for Venezuela, God, that you'd help any corruption you find in the military be thrown out, and that it makes good policies as well to help it return to its former glory, God. We pray for Mexico, God, that you help the crime go away, and you help people turn towards you, and you help them become a first world nation, God. Pray that you install great leadership and great ideas and great ways for them to start spinning their economy back up, Father. Vehemently pray for this. We pray for Hong Kong, God, that the transition they're making with China would go over in a way you find benevolent. They're waving our flags and singing your songs, God, and worshiping you. So please, Hong Kong is identifying as both Christian and Catholic, God, and it'd be a shame if you weren't there to take care of one of your own nations, Father. And we pray for American culture, that this hate that we're seeing from people that split down the middle, that just people become very educated and very wise and open-hearted and accept each other. And please heal all this American culture tension. It's pretty ridiculous. I think that's everything for now. Yeah, okay. Sorry, we're getting a nice, really cold breeze, and it's making me sleepy. Okay, so I've been going over the 4 pillars of Christianity, four pivotal points that I wrote. And as life gets hard, and when you kind of have these 4 things installed into your heart and mind, it makes Christianity really work for you, and while at the same time you submit before it. So it's kind of like you're putting each other first. God will bend over backwards to help you, and it's important that we submit to the fact that he's our king. That's pretty much what he's asking. A lot of people construe it and they overplay it, but really you're just admitting the fact that he's your king. So if God says stop, you stop, and go, you go. And he says this is the way we're going to do things, then that's the end of the conversation. You can argue with him, but it's like your parent. Like, you can argue with your parents up to a point. The rules in my household were I was allowed to argue with my mom all I wanted until she said, okay, this is how we're going to do it. And at that point, the argument was over. Because I was a pretty smart kid, and I'd often see things that she wouldn't, or have ideas on how to do things. And she grew up in a really strict religious community, so oftentimes I would see things different, and that was okay. We got heated. We got a lot of heated arguments, but I was never disrespectful. I was just smart. So my parents were always okay with it as long as I didn't, act inappropriately. So, pillar number 2 is to rely on God. And it's kind of for the unknown. A lot of people, especially I see a lot of millennials having high anxiety because you don't know what to do when you don't know what to do. And there's things you can do when you don't know what to do. And mainly when you don't know what to do is you take an action no matter what. Because oftentimes it's better to do something than to do nothing. So if you don't know what to do, immediately start praying. What do I do? How do I do it? How do I get out of here? So no matter what, when you get stuck, rely on God. Or when things get hard, rely on God. Or when you want things to become better, rely on God. So you should always be calling Him to help you, calling Him to your side, asking Him to help you out, and what else did I write? Today's lesson was a little dark. Make sure you use wisdom and always call God to your side. He'll always be there to take care of you. He really will. I remember one time I was in a dark place, and this is before I had seen as many miracles as I had, so I still wasn't quite sure about the kingdom of heaven. And I was really, really hurting one night, and I said, is anyone even up there? Like, do you care? Like, I'm really, really hurting, and you're not really doing anything at all. And that was one of the moments when I knew, like, God was real and actually, like, really cared about me. Because I immediately felt arms around me, like I was being hugged. Not in a supernatural way or a fantasy way or a fictitious way. You know how, like, sometimes you can convince yourself of almost anything. This wasn't that. This felt as real as if, your best friend was giving you a hug. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess He really does care about me. Which I kind of always believed, but, sometimes you need actions to back up the words. What else was I going to tell you guys? Always call on God, always rely on God. The Bible's chock full of wisdom. Wisdom is really good for helping you rely on God because it just teaches you how to, like, call Him and act in times of uncertainty and terror. So in addition to all that, make sure you trust Him and trust each other. That's pretty much it for today. A nice short service. I have to work on the website, and I have to work on getting other stuff up and running, so this kind of helps me out. But the Bible verse, where's the Bible verse I was going to share with you guys before I finish? It's Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. And another word for straight is like, well, it's not just saying clear. In fact, it's actually saying make your paths simple and obvious. If we convert that to modern day vernacular, it's like he'll show you what to do. Sorry if I seem like I space out a lot. It's since I've grown up knowing the Bible my whole life, I haven't had to like explain things that are obvious. I had a pastor who was preaching in Russia because they finally allowed pastors in Russia, and he was explaining, Christmas. So he's saying, okay, so God enters creation by Jesus, or Jesus was God, and then everyone's like, what? I don't understand. He's like, well, God entered creation as Jesus, and they went, what? I don't understand. And you got to sit there and think, well, I'm really gonna have to start at the bones of this thing because they don't know anything about Christianity, which isn't bad. It's just, if I say Adam and Eve, you know what I'm talking about. But when you have to explain Adam and Eve to someone who doesn't, you have to say like, so God made the world in 7 days. Anyways, I hope you guys have a good week. Remember that Bible verse. Commit it to your hearts and mind. Because life will be hard a whole lot of the time. And this will help you get through it fantastically. Okay. Love you guys and have a good week.